Hello and welcome. So, in this show, we're going to be talking about the developments surrounding crypto privacy restrictions, the centralized exchange monitor tag, and the inevitable delistings of non compliant projects. Um, and as a kind of reversal to that, we're just looking at, can DEXs fill that gap? Can they be a better solution for decentralized crypto marketplaces? And what our thoughts are on that. So, how are you doing, Exitus? You good?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Just enjoyed the little break over Christmas. Took a week or so off, which was quite nice. Um, One thing I've put in the comment section here is what is the people listening to this preferred DEX or centralized exchange and why? Obviously, Binance is going to be high up on that list. Coinbase will probably be high up on that list. But what I'm really interested in is there anything people are using that I'm not aware of? Things are changing quite fast. I just wonder if there's things that people are actually using that I'm not aware of. How about you, Exis? Is there anything that you use these days might be slightly different to what I'm used to?
Um, I would like to point out some things, but as a matter of privacy, I think I'd prefer not to say. But I think some of the swap services can be pretty useful, like local Bitcoin. I think a lot of people use that and they're comfortable with that, even though it's not the most decentralized thing you can use. It works pretty well, where the exchange or the service I forget what the word is, but it holds your coins until the trade is complete. Have you ever used one of those?
Do they hold your coins, or do you? Do you mean a custodian or?
Yeah, they hold your coins. So it's
Oh,
not
right.
perfectly decentralized, but it's 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 an okay workaround, I guess.
I think the one we mentioned about a year ago, I can't remember the name, but that was quite popular with Bitcoin and Monero people. And I think they had a similar service where there was this kind of contract in the middle where they held on to it. The one that I find myself using a little bit now, just purely because the Bitcoin price just went through the roof, and it just made it almost infeasible to use. But is changed now. I used to use a little. I used to use Changely, but Decred got taken off of that for some reason. Not We haven't had a response for that yet, but the change now is okay. I'm looking forward to USDC arriving on DCRDX if I'm honest.
Yeah, those swap services, they work fairly well, but the fees are kind of ridiculous sometimes,
Yeah. Well,
especially with if you were doing like USDC on Ethereum, now you're getting hit with the Ethereum fee. And I've also had it where the money can get it stuck on exchanges where their liquidity bot that sends the funds doesn't work. So that's not my preferred. There's definitely better ways of doing it. And the word I was looking for earlier was arbitration bond. So you go into a trade with people, there's an arbitration bond, and there's ways of getting scammed on it. But if you go through someone who has a reputation, the odds are, I think, a lot lower. So,
we yeah.
local Bitcoins, Monero Swap are pretty good alternatives, and you're not getting hit with, really high fees because what happens is usually people will buy at a rate that's higher than the market rate, or they'll sell at a rate that's higher than the market rate, because you're paying premium for that service of not having to use an exchange and going peer to peer, and you can just pay with, your local bank or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I just recently did a USDC Polygon using Change now, and the fee was, I mean, it was about a $600 trade, and the fee was like 12 quid, and it was just ridiculous. The irony is when it got to Coinbase, the Coinbase fees were like almost zero, so it was a bit crazy. I'm really looking forward to DCR Dex actually having the Polygon pairs. Um, One conversation we were having in one of the chats, I think just before Christmas, is about trust mechanisms, like in many respects, like eBay used to be, where a provider of services that would sell you something. In this particular case, it was gift cards, but someone that would build up their reputation, and it was almost like, if you can trust somebody enough to make small trades, that could actually work as a better mechanism than putting all these kind of points in that kind of get very confusing. So I thought that was an interesting discussion. I can't remember the whole thing, but I suppose it's very similar to, you a reputation system where you build up a good enough reputation where people feel comfortable to deal with you.
I
Um,
say
yeah,
one of the better ways to trade is, I don't know if you've used there's MEXC, BingX, XT.com, and they're all kind of the same thing where I think they use the same software to run their exchange, but there's no KYC at all. So if you're an American, you use a VPN, you can go on these sites, no problem. The only thing, of course, is like any centralized exchange, they hold your coins and they can, what if one day you can't log in, or they arbitrarily take your money. There's been reports on Mexi of people who do leverage trading. They'll hit some crazy trade, and then Mexi will be like, "Oh, we found these weird trading patterns, and we're going to shut down your account." And they literally take people's like all their money. So it's something you should use with caution, but it exists. And all these different ones, they have Decred pairs with USDT, with Tether, and they also have USDC pairs with the Tether. So let's say you buy from Coinbase, buy some USDC, send it to one of these exchanges, you can easily swap it for Tether and then buy Decred, and then of course self custody your Decred in your own wallet. So I think that's probably one of the better ways, because you're getting hit with minimal fees. I think that way is probably better than using Change Now, where there's usually a crazy markup on the rate they give you and everything. So yeah.
yeah. The markup on change now was absolutely ridiculous. But like I said, it I can't wait for the Polygon USDC pair to hit DCR DEX, because at the moment there is very limited kind of options, especially if you've got to pay some bills or whatever. But I heard you and Tiv were talking about MEXC before, and if I'm honest, I've seen it in the listings, but I haven't actually delved in deep to it. So it's nice to kind of get an overview of actually what it is. Um, so just to move forward, then, so one of the big pieces of news that happened just after Christmas, as we was getting a really nice, or sorry, it's just before Christmas, I think. As we was getting a really nice rally and Decred hit, I think $20 at one point, or £20, I think it might have been. Then we got this breaking news that Binance was going to be adding a monitor tag to several of the coins. It was actually 10 coins in total, but the monitor tag was going to be applied to 4 privacy coins, including Pharaoh, Monero, Zcash, and Horizon, which I thought was quite interesting. I went a little bit deeper, but at the time, it kind of coordinated with what the regulators were trying to do, where they were trying to enforce certain restrictions to make exchanges comply with them. So I thought that was quite interesting. The fact they went straight for those privacy coins, I also thought was quite interesting. So I suppose the question is do we think this is a coordinated attack, or is it just kind of a one-off event? Are privacy coins going to still be listed on centralized exchanges going forward, or are they in real threat?
I think they're going to keep attacking it. They're going to keep attacking people's privacy, and it just is what it is. I think Monero has reached the point where it's, as you can say, it reached escape velocity, where they're too big. They have too much of a network effect to really be super affected by all of this. However, I do feel that Monero being delisted from Binance is going to be a negative, because there's a lot of people that trade, that hold their coins on these exchanges, and what they're going to do is they're not going to self-custody their Monero. They're just going to sell it and move on to the next asset. So I think it is going to affect their price. It already kind of has affected their price a bit, and it might hurt their liquidity. I think it's going to be a really great experiment to see how well they can do if they are delisted, because they haven't been delisted yet. They moved to the monitoring thing. It's really just this big game of market manipulation and it's really sad to see, for Zcash, Dash, all these different coins. Firo actually worked to, I believe, change the way their addresses work just to try to comply with this. And from what I understand, Ruben, we're in a group called No Scam Alliance on Telegram, and Ruben Yap from Firo is there, and he was saying Decred's safe because of the way our addresses work. They're what they're going after uh, doesn't have anything to do with Decred's privacy element, which is coin mixing, which is really the same as what Bitcoin and Litecoin have. So he said we're basically safe. I don't know if you saw that conversation.
No, I'm currently not in the No Scam Alliance. I'll have to rejoin again. I took myself out because it kind of, my head started getting a bit exploded with different channels that I was involved in. So I just kind of pulled back a little bit. But Ruben is a crazy intelligent guy, actually, and he's well worth following. He's well worth listening to. Um, and he does have some really nice views on the ways in which privacy should be done. As it stands, I'm not one of these people that believes necessarily in privacy at any cost. I think privacy is very, very important. I'm very much of the mindset that if you go too hard on privacy, it compromises other elements of the blockchain project, and that's why I quite like the way that Decred has followed it. That being said, as we go forward, there is going to be a need for these coins, especially Monero, Fero, and Zcash, which are sole mission is to be as private as possible. And it's actually quite nice to be able to use use a store of value coin like Decred and actually be able to go into a privacy coin like one of those three that I just mentioned seamlessly. And that's the ecosystem that I'm pushing for. If I need this privacy at any cost mechanism, I'll be able to go into it and out of it, which has to exist. So I quite like those factors, and it's quite interesting to hear that Ruben is quite confident that what they're going after are these mechanisms for pure privacy rather than the coin mixing. Obviously, with the what was the coin join service that got a couple of developers imprisoned, because that was the narrative maybe beginning of
I
last
think
year where
Tornado Cash maybe.
Tornado Cash, where the mixing they were physically going after the mixing services. And now the thing with a lot of these mixing services, I'm not sure how Tornado Cash worked, but they are non-custodial, so going after them is would be a bit of a pain in the ass, I should imagine, for any regulator or any authority. Especially, I mean, Decred does have a centralized server at the moment, but even to kind of track all of those swaps and all of those mixes would be very, very hard, I'd imagine, since the pool is like 41,000, and you have these anonymity sets that are absolutely huge. With Decred, I don't know if people in the audience are familiar with that mixing service, but there's 60 something percent of Decred coins that have actually been mixed for privacy, which is actually massive. So yeah, it's interesting to see that they've changed the shift to actually go for the elements that they can actually attack, and it's definitely my train of thought is they're going to go for the weakest points first. So they're going to come after kind of people that are running the infrastructure, people that are kind of taking profits, and anyone that is an easy target first. And I think the centralized exchanges kind of have to apply to what the regulators want in order to stay in business, really.
Yeah, one thing Ruben also said, I was just looking at the chat again. He
Yeah.
said they're going after the really the coins that really market themselves as privacy coins as like their main feature. But he believes that once those privacy coins are delisted or removed, that they're going to go for any coin that exhibits any form of privacy. And if people don't push back on these first initial ones, the bigger ones, the most popular privacy coins, then no one's going to push back when they go after, some of the ones where privacy isn't really the main feature, like Decred. So that's something he thinks is going to happen. It'll be interesting to see. I mean, Decred, isn't really listed on any American exchange, so maybe that's just not in the radar. And I think a lot of this is coming from American regulators. Um, you know, we were speaking about how we should probably change our marketing to market in the Middle East and China, and because that's where people can buy us. And I think we have a bigger audience there than we know because they don't speak English that well, especially in, say, China, Russia. And we have some of them come into our Telegram chat saying things, sometimes just in Chinese. They're asking questions.
Yeah.
Uh, so maybe the future of Decred lies outside of America, and I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on
Well,
that?
we have the same problem in England. I was thinking about this in our last conversation when you said you physically can't buy Decred in America, and I kind of went through and said, oh, yeah, I don't think we can do it here. Although I think Binance International is available, which I think you guys are not allowed access to that. Are you? Is that true?
No, we're not. So
Yeah.
America, there's Binance US, which I've never used, but from what I understand, they got rid of the fiat pairs. So they got rid of all the fiat pairs, and now it's just like any other exchange. And from the people I've talked to, it kind of went downhill after that. It's not popular.
All right. Yeah, we yes, I'm not. I mean, I've seen the chat. We've got Tool Americano, we've got Jay, we've got a whole bunch of other people. Oh, Zek Hub's with us as well. Fantastic. And I was just noticing through there, a lot of those guys use Binance, which is quite interesting. And I wonder, guys, if you're in the chat and you're talking away, I wonder if you have any experience with other exchanges, centralized exchanges or decentralized exchanges that you've had good results with. Um, we had Ronnie on the show a year or so ago, and I listened to a lot of what Ronnie says, and we got into a chat about a month ago, and he was saying about Thor chain, and so I had a look at it, and I had a really negative experience with it actually, and I just wonder if anyone else has tried Thor chain. Have you tried it, Exodus?
I have not used Thorchain. Um, from what I understand, from what you did, wasn't the fee quite high when you did a swap between Bitcoin Cash and something else?
Yeah, well, one thing I noticed, I tried to compare it. If you didn't follow the Twitter thread, what I tried to do is I tried to compare it as closely as possible to DCR DEX. So I tried to do an on-chain swap. So first off, I took some Decred and I transferred it into Bitcoin at almost exactly the same time. So the fees were identical. At the time, they're about 150 sats, which is ridiculous. It cost me an absolute fortune actually. But on Thorchain, obviously they don't have Decred. So what I did is went from Bitcoin Cash to Bitcoin with almost the same value. And because of the way it works, what they do is they split it up into separate transactions. So rather than just doing one Bitcoin transaction, they did like I don't know a few, I don't know how many, which ballooned the fees actually. And I suspect it's a mechanism so that their liquidity providers actually share the wealth, if you want, share the profits from the trade. But it's one of those projects that gets a lot of attention, and maybe I did it wrong. Maybe I'm not the best expert in that, but I wanted to give it a try. I wanted to give it the benefit of the doubt. And I was fairly disappointed, if I'm honest. But that being said, if someone has a better experience with Thorchain, um, chuck it my way. We'll talk about it a bit further. But if anyone else has used any other exchanges, I hear a lot about Uniswap, and what's the other one? Is Pancake Swap still a thing?
Right, but isn't that just between Ethereum tokens?
I don't know. Yeah, is that what it
Yeah.
is? Oh, right, I see.
Yeah, it
Um,
works in the Ethereum ecosystem, and from what I understand, like the fees got so crazy, it wasn't super, it wasn't the what you wanted to use. Um, but yeah, DCR Dex, hopefully we see version 1 pretty soon. From what I understand from just looking on GitHub, they finished Polygon like maybe even a few months ago. So that's been working, and then they're aware that Polygon is being issued natively on Coinbase. Coinbase issues its own, so they're aware of that. And the market maker bot looks complete. I from what I've seen on GitHub. So we should be seeing a version 1 release, I think, relatively soon. It's difficult to say.
yeah, they're quite meticulous with their updates and stuff. But before this show started, I did a quick fee comparison with Ethereum and Polygon, and to move USDC using Polygon, it was 3 cents, and that's any amount, or practically any amount, I think. But to do the same trade with Ethereum, it was I think it was $3. I think they wanted to do it, and I was just looking at the time. I was just looking at moving $10 backwards and forwards. Myself and Exodus had a really good experiment the other week actually, where I was in Coinbase and I said, "Hey, look, I can get all of these extra options. I can use USDC with Solana, and I can use it with Polygon, and I can use it with Ethereum." And then Exodus fed back saying, "I don't see any of that." And what we kind of found out is that the US guys and the UK guys is actually a different interface, which was interesting. So we ended up, I sent some Polygon USDC to Exodus, and it actually turned up in his normal wallet as normal. When he tried to send it back, it didn't. Did you send it back in the end? I don't know, but you tried to. And I think it
Mm,
was it was
it
going to do
it
it
didn't
Ethereum, wasn't
work.
it?
Yeah, yeah, it's annoying on my thing. It says, oh, you can only send Ethereum to this address, but if you send Polygon, it works, and it'll even say in your transaction details, oh, this is from Polygon. So I don't know.
Yeah.
It's annoying.
it's really strange that they haven't given the same interface to US Coinbase users, but maybe there's something else going on there. We've got a bunch of stuff happening in the chat. Before we move on to our next little thing about delistings, anything good there to discuss? Yeah, so Jay said Pancake Swap is BNB, and they've just voted to burn half the supply. I wonder what the supply was. Probably like 20 billion or something.
Don Freeman says marketing outside America is a great idea. Yeah, one thing I would really like to see is some sort of vanguard initiative from these other in these other languages. We have a Chinese Decred account that maybe tweets once a month, and it kind of just tweets the Decred journal. And I think we just need a little more activity. To the Moon is he speaks Chinese, and he's basically said Chinese people they're on X, they're on Twitter because they want to see all the information that's out there. So I think that would be good. Same with Arabic. I reached out to this one exchange called BitOasis. It's operating out of Dubai, and it has uh, fiat pairs with their currency, and they basically said we'll list any currency that our community wants to list. Now, unfortunately, I'm not in Dubai. I'm not one of their customers, but that's really the key to getting on any of these exchanges is showing interest and being loud and saying, hey, we want to trade this. So you're going to get much further that way than just having someone with a decred.org email account saying, hey, can you list us, please? But they were friendly. They actually respond to your request, which was cool.
Yeah, I mean, I've looked at some of the chat that because you've obviously reached out to a whole bunch of exchanges now, based on some feedback that we had from Twitter, actually, where they said, look, you need to market, which is, oh my God, we need to market, really? But to that point, X actually did take those points forward, and a lot of the suggestions he actually followed forward. You have to remind me of all the exchanges you went out to, but I believe Poloniex was one of them. And is that right?
No,
Not
not Poloniex.
Not Poloniex.
But I applied to
no,
Coinbase. Kraken doesn't accept any
Kraken.
applications at all. There were a number of them. Bigonomy is one from Canada. They actually replied to me and they said they were interested in listing Decred, and I said, okay, we'll go ahead and list it, and then they didn't respond. The thing is, a lot of them, there's so many bot and spam accounts messaging these places. It's oftentimes they take you as being like a bot until you can prove otherwise. You really need some sort of warm introduction. So it's a bit of a challenge, and that's something we face. So I'm an admin on the Telegram group for Decred, and we get messages every day from people, and 99% of the time it's some sort of scam. Like it's really wild.
Yeah, my Twitter account, I put out a tweet the other day and literally had 20 spams. Oh, hey, contact me, do a DM with me. I was like, I haven't had this for years. I was wondering what the keyword that triggered the bot army, and I think it was the word client. So I'd written client side SPV or something like that, and they literally yeah, so it's quite interesting. So as we move forward, then I think both myself and Exus are both of the mindset that delistings are probably a potential problem for a lot of coins, and the likelihood is that they will start with the privacy coins. The likelihood is that initially the price or the value of those coins will go down, but this brings in the opportunity for a better ecosystem, maybe an opportunity to bring DCR DEX and other platforms forward to actually facilitate the swapping between these platforms. I suppose the point we had earlier is at what point does this happen, and what is the most strategical move forward? So for a lot of these privacy coins, are they already building their own dexes? Are they looking to reach out to DCR DEX and places like that? What are the thoughts so far? Just to kind of finalize before Exus jumps in, Ruben from Pharaoh, about less than a year ago, actually is already part of already implemented a lot of the Pharaoh tech. So have Dash, although I don't think they were listed as a privacy coin anymore. to actually get their technology or their coin onto DCR DEX, which I thought was really interesting. Zcash is already available. It would be nice, and I don't know if ZetHub wants to mention this to any of the community, but it would be nice to get their light client implemented into DCR DEX, as their chain now is well over 200 gigs, which kind of causes a bit of problem if you're running a node to trade. Any thoughts on that?
So I think Monero has built out an exchange called Haveno. I don't think it was released, it's released yet. But they have Monero, local Monero, they have Haveno. They're being added to these two exchanges I've come across, maybe even more. Actually, there's three different exchanges. One is called Basic Swap DEX, uses atomic swaps, and they found a way to do the swap with Bitcoin. So I think that's going to be pretty popular, and they have good messaging, good branding, good marketing. I think that one's going to be successful. Another one coming online is Sarai, and I think it's funded partly by Cake Wallet. So it's called Sarai DEX, also going to be atomic swap based. Um, and the basic swap DEX people, they know Decred did the initial atomic swaps. We're not listed there just yet, but I think it's relatively trivial to do a listing, especially since we have so many experienced developers who've worked on atomic swaps for so long. I think getting them to do that work to list Decred would be pretty fast. And of course, we have our proposal system, the treasury to pay people to get these things done. And another one is the Samurai wallet. I think it is. They're making they're doing atomic swap, so you can atomic swap between Bitcoin and Monero. So that's coming online as well. Maybe that one isn't open to adding any other altcoins, but it definitely feels like the space is moving in that direction, which is a good thing because people are going to get used to atomic swaps, how they work, uh, and be able to self-custody their coins. So it's ultimately a good thing. And what was the other part of the question?
Yeah, that was it. Really, the direction that these coins take was my first thought, and really, even as I was asking it, it was logical to me that if these privacy coins are not on a proper DEX, one that can't be manipulated, one that can't be controlled, the future looks pretty bleak. So they really do have two options. They join a community like the open source community of DCR DEX, and they help build their implementation, or they go down their own route and build their own one. Yeah, so even as I was answering that, it's like, really and truly, if you're going to survive, you need you need a DEX, and you need common pairs. Now for Decred, and we're actually almost in the position where we've been pretty much delisted from everything. Really and truly, if we look at the whole scheme, really you can only get Decred from Binance or one of their subsidiaries, kind of coin swaps. So really and truly, Decred has already been involved in that process for a long time, and it's one of the thought processes behind actually building the DEX in the first place. Is, look, we can't get onto any of these platforms. None of these platforms particularly want us, because we're not facilitating their pump and dumps or whatever. So we need to build something. And the philosophy for DCR DEX was very much, let's make it open source. Let's make sure there's no fees. Let's make sure there's no middlemen. Make sure that nobody can control this thing. And let's make sure that anyone that wants to be listed or build their implementation can, and they can actually use that software. They can build their own implementation, and they can merge it with all the other markets. And that was the philosophy. And to this day, it just astounds me that more people are not thinking along those lines. I look at the offerings from the DEX landscape, and it doesn't really thrill me. I mean, Jake says it best. It looks like a casino, where you can collateralize loans and just loans, or you can collateralize kind of bets and things like that.
He
And
also
ultimately,
said it's like trading with cameras watching every single trade, and he doesn't think that's the future of cryptocurrency or even the future of trading. And on that note, there was a few things they've been working on the DCR DEX. One is they've been looking into doing there's some way of doing private atomic swaps with Schnorr signatures. So they're looking into that. They are adding like mixed funds or something with the DEX swaps. So they are moving towards even more privacy than you get now, which is really nice. Um,
Yeah, I forgot to mention that actually. That DCR Dex doesn't do front running. Yeah, so although we have a bot, it's not a front running bot. It literally has to apply to the same epoch times that everyone else has to apply to. It doesn't get a millisecond advantage over everyone else, which is quite interesting.
so I remember you made a video even like maybe 6 months ago about the market maker bot. And did you have a good experience with it? Do you think you'll run one once they go online?
Well, I 100% had a fantastic experience with it. One of the biggest problems at the time, and I'm not sure if they fixed this because they've taken the experimental build down now. So one of the problems was it didn't have an oracle. It had an oracle for the DCR to BTC pair, but it didn't have an oracle for DCR to LTC, which basically meant if you put down a 2% trade either side of the spread, it could really easily be moved, which could end up resulting in massive losses. But that being said, if you put some stagnant bets down just so that the bot couldn't move it too far over side, it actually was really, really effective. And yeah, I 100% agree with it. As someone put a bid down, it would move your bet somewhere else or your bid somewhere else, which it was a great experience actually. I really liked it. Um, Another problem that they did have, of course, is that a market maker bot could actually clear your funds. So if in your account, say for instance, you had 20 D credit, but you only wanted one lot, a two DCR lot to be put down, and you only wanted one. The minute that gets applied, then the next lot would apply. So it's very easy to kind of put all 20 DCR down, even though you might have only wanted to put two DCR down. Um, and what I believe they've done now is they've actually separated the market bot. So it says, right, what's your maximum expenditure for this market maker bot, which makes a lot more sense to me. So you don't end up just kind of wrecking your whole trading fee on one position or whatever. But yeah, generally the market maker bots were brilliant. Sorry, Exes.
And I imagine doing a market maker bot with Bitcoin would be somewhat problematic given the fees.
It would be at this moment, and even back then, to do a market to make a bot with Bitcoin, you would have needed one position on either side of the trade. So you'd need 40 DCR for the DCR side and 0.07 or something like that for the other side. But you'd also need enough to cover the inflow as one order gets taken. So yeah, but with with the LTC pair, it was so cheap. Um, if anyone's interested, you can actually go into DCR Dex and you can have a look. It's about 6 months ago, a bit before, but you can actually see a whole bunch of activity. And yeah, I think it got up to in one day. I managed to get the trades up to about 1,000 DCR in volume, and that was using 12 DCR and three Litecoins. Literally, I managed to make enough volume, and the actual cost, it was about a penny in both sides, DCR and LTC. So to generate 500 it was about 500 trades. It literally cost me about £2, £2, sorry, 2 pence, sorry, so like 2 cents or whatever. It was so cheap. And it could be not. I know that there is a market maker proposal at the moment. I don't know if it's gone through or if they're still talking about it, but it could be a very good option to show that you can generate these fake volumes, and you can actually get quite a dense volume very, very quickly just by trading with two accounts. Really, it's quite interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, I would love to check it out. Of course, I just don't touch the Bitcoin pair. I'm always like, oh, I don't want to pay, $30 in fees. So hopefully Polygon and the Litecoin, I've done a trade with Litecoin before and it works amazingly well. So I'm hoping the Litecoin community can start using the DEX, especially now that, the Litecoin wallet, it syncs so fast. It's really great. Jay says we need more presence in conferences. As you say, online is full of scammers, hard to get the attention of people. Yeah, I think that would be good. The main thing I've seen from conferences is unless you have some sort of speaker slot, it's pretty difficult to get the word out. because what happens is you go and talk to someone, you explain Decred top to bottom, they think that's cool. Then you go on to the next person and you explain Decred top to bottom, and it gets very tiring very fast to consistently just explain it over and over and over again. But if you have some sort of speaker slot where you're talking to everyone, I think that would be much more efficient.
Yeah, yeah, I think so. I think, and this is the problem for many years that Decod's had, is the narrative is so wide. Literally, we have a solution for pretty much all narratives. Really, you want to talk about funding, we've got a narrative for that. You want to talk about privacy, we've got a narrative for that. You want to talk about 21 million supply cap, that we've got that narrative. You want to talk about kind of halving narratives, we've got that as well. Literally, every aspect Decred has, it's pretty much its own solution for, and it makes it interesting as hell. And I'm always finding that I could talk about Decred for hours, but really and truly, yeah, you need a speaker slot just to kind of get those points across, definitely. But I would be up for going to more crypto conferences.
I think it's a
I mean,
matter of identifying conferences and planning ahead. And yeah, if someone wants to submit a proposal to fund some of that stuff to pay for travel or something, I mean, we have these tools. So it's a matter of just planning it all out, submitting a proposal, and not just kind of talking online about it of, oh yeah, we should do this, we should do that.
to go back to your point before we started talking about meetings, um, we should probably say that this video proposal that we're doing right here has actually now got a little bit of funding to actually start onboarding other communities as well. Not a lot of funding, but one thing I really want to do is, once version 1 comes out of DCR DEX, or whatever the new name will be, is I want to get people like Litecoin Underground back on, and actually incentivize him to join up to DCR DEX, give him the bond, the money that he needs for his bond in DCR, and actually facilitate, give him enough money for his first trade. And if there's anyone else that's a big speaker, and I can think of, like, I want to get Desert Links on it as well, once the dash trade comes on, and actually start kind of facilitating these things, so get them over the hurdles. And there is, like I said, there is a little bit of money, and what I would like to do is get these prominent people to come on. We'll pay the fidelity bond, we'll pay for your first trade, just so you can have a use it and try it out. But the Litecoin Underground, he was really up for it, and we scheduled it, but unfortunately he had to bail at the last minute, and we haven't re-put that together. But once version 1 comes out, that'll be the perfect opportunity to kind of refacilitate that and give that another go.
Yeah, for sure. And I think version 1, I think you can pay the bond in Litecoin, so that'll be good. But yeah, hopefully once those market makers are online, because otherwise you log in and you're kind of met with this, a bunch of empty pairs, and it's like, oh well, no one's using this. I want to trade Litecoin to Bitcoin. No one's using it. Well, I'm guessing I'm going to go back to, Litecoin's listed everywhere, so they have tons of choice. Don Freeman says there was a Decred commercial down the Decred rabbit hole. I actually don't remember that. I don't know if you could post that in the chat. I'd like to see if I remember. I probably do remember it, but I off the top of my head, I can't remember.
Yeah, no, the rabbit hole thing definitely rings a bell, but no, I don't think I've ever seen that one. I think also one of your earlier points as well, with actually spinning up pairs. One of the main problems I'm facing with DCR DEX is actually knowing the best way to run a server. I've got a little Linux machine now that I can run, but I quite like checking on different accounts. So I have the Linux machine running in the background, but actually check it on, say, my iPad, or check it on my computer. When I tried this, I was working through it with I can't remember his name. I can't remember. Somebody actually walked me through how to do the web setup, and unfortunately, it wasn't Buck. It was John Chapello. He said, actually, that's not very safe. You shouldn't use that, because they hadn't implemented the HTTPS for the actual web server. So the connection that was being made to the Linux box that I was running actually wasn't secure. So unfortunately, I had to stop doing that. And I think they're looking at ways now of actually implementing it so that you can have your trades running on your box in the corner, and you can actually access them from your from another machine. Another issue that I did face, and I still haven't worked out how to get over this, was what about accessing it from outside the house? You know, so you have your server running in your house, and you want to access it when you're at work or whatever, so you can actually put more trades on, or you can change things around. Um, Unfortunately, at this particular moment, there doesn't seem to be a clear way of doing that, apart from maybe Umbrel. And I'm still a little bit unsure how Umbrel works. I know. Um, I always forget names. It's Crumble. Crumble put a tutorial together for how it works. I need to kind of have a look at that. But that could be one option. But that seems to be the barrier of entry at the minute, is actually getting enough trading volume on there, and actually keep them running constantly. Because if for those that are not familiar with DCR DEX, you do need to leave the window open all the time there's a trade on until it fully settles. If you don't, you could end up obviously having your trade rejected. Any other points in the comments, Exodus?
Jay says he was looking for spots at conferences in Asia. No one answered. Yeah, like we were saying earlier, you really have to come with money, I think, at this point, and that's why we moved away from the conferences. Was they were expensive, they cost money, and there weren't really any tangible results. I think if you go around and ask people in Decred right now how they found out about it, I don't think anyone would say, "Oh, I was at a conference and I heard about it," or this and that. It's people. The thing with conferences, a lot of people there are just from other projects trying to promote their own project. Like that's just the reality. So it's very much pay to win. Pay to win. Show up with money. Say, hey, I will give $10,000 to speak. They'll let you speak. Nothing comes of it. I think online marketing, even though as we said, it can be difficult with a lot of people spamming. That's why in Decred Vanguard, I encourage people to get the premium, because when you have premium, X or Twitter doesn't hide your comments. It promotes your comments. When you DM people, it's less likely to just put your DM in the spammer profile. And in Decred Vanguard, we the DAO pays for that. So that I think that's an important part.
Yeah, I still need to do mine actually, and I want to do it for the Cypherpunk Times account to get those promotions up. But an interesting question for you guys in the comments, and we've got I think at our maximum we had like 12 people watching. We've got 9 people viewing at the moment. How did you hear about Decred? Can you remember back? Write your comment in the comment section. How did you hear about Decred? And I always think there's a lot of value in that. I mean, how I heard about Decred was from there was a Coinbase listing post, and it housed, they used to do it like once a month. So look, we're thinking about listing these coins. It's not 100% sure, but these are ones we're thinking. So what I would do from that post is I would go through them and have a look, see if any of them had the values that I was interested in. One of the values, and still to this day, one of the values that I really pride above anything else is the low kind of 21 million supply, or thereabouts. Obviously, I'm not set in stone with the 21 million, but once it starts getting into the billions and trillions, I kind of lose interest. And out of all of these coins that were listed on this post, there was 2 that struck me as interesting. One was Decred because it basically had the 21 million, and the other one was Waves. I actually started by going into the Waves project, and then about a month after I joined the Waves project, they said, no, we're not 100 million supply anymore. We're actually going to have inflation. Inflation of something like I think it was 1 or 2 million a year. And at that point, I'd been learning quite a bit about Decred, and I literally I moved all my staking rewards from Waves over into Decred. I'd been doing that anyway, but at that point, it just went all over to Decred as soon as they changed the mechanism, and I wasn't happy about. Which is also another reason I joined Decred. It's because they voted on changes. Whereas Waves just said, "Look, we're doing this," and anyone was like, "Why? We like to, you've already printed in 2 years 100 million. Why do you need any more?" And they just did it. Whereas with Decred, they can say, "Hey, we're going to change it from 21 million to something else," but it wouldn't happen until a proper vote had gone through, which takes several months. But everyone that is a holder gets to vote on that. It's not done against the will of the coin holder, which I hold that sentiment above pretty much everything else at this point. But how did you hear about Decred Exodus?
So I found out about Decred back in 2017. Decred was very high in the coin market cap. I think it was in the top 50. Certainly, I think it was even in the top 30. So it wasn't some obscure way of finding it. It was just one of the top coins. I think it might even at one point Decred was top 10. People don't realize this, but at one point in 2017 it was top 10, but it kind of shifted around. But I liked it because there was a low coin cap, 21 million coin cap. So I compared it to Bitcoin. And when I looked into it, I found it was really interesting. The stakeholder voting, that stakeholders made the rules, and the concept of stake mining it was really interesting. Because I think at that point in time, there weren't too many coins that did proof of stake. This was years ago. And they had just had some really ambitious developers, and it's everything worked. It wasn't this theoretical white paper. Oh, we're gonna do this and that. Like no, the voting worked, and it all worked. And so yeah, that's how I got into it. But I would say I think if Decred wasn't in the top 100 or top 50, I probably wouldn't have heard of it. And I think that's why one of the reasons we're struggling right now is, once you fall out of the top 100, it starts to become pretty difficult. So hopefully, things change for us, especially once DEX version 1 comes out.
Yeah, I mean that's amazing that you got in, or you found out about it in 2017. I think it must have been 2019, so I'm a couple of years down the line from that. And I could probably find that post to actually clarify when it was the exact moment that I got in. But generally speaking, I haven't looked back actually. It was exactly what I was looking for. It was at the time, it was position, I think it was 35 actually when I joined. It was position 35 in the coin market cap, and it does make a difference. You're right.
When I joined, I didn't even realize there was a treasury or it was doing all these things. I just thought the stakeholder voting was really cool. So when I found out there was a treasury and that they were going to add privacy elements, and obviously now we have the DEX, they really delivered everything, and it's something you don't see too much in cryptocurrency. So, but it's kind of sad that we weren't necessarily rewarded for delivering. It turns out this is all very much speculation based. But this is a point we make quite often, is even in the bear markets, Decred builds because we have the treasury. So I think we're shaping up really nicely for 2024. This is going to be a bull run year. It's pretty evident. We are working on a website refresh. So the current website looks very nice. However, it's very clean. However, it's a little bit too abstract. It doesn't really explain what Decred is. And we're doing a refresh that's basically going to say Decred's layer 1. There's no ICO. 21 million coin cap. It's a DAO. We're going to explain why Decred was built, and it's going to be very direct of saying Decred's different features. Decred puts coin holders in control. The development never stops because of the treasury. So that's pretty far along, and that should be coming, I think, within the next few weeks. Should be delivered. It's also going to draw data from DCR data, so it's going to show the charts. It's going to show the supply, the staking. So I'm really excited for that. And the website, the way it works is if you don't like JavaScript, you have JavaScript off, it won't pull any of that data. But if you don't mind having JavaScript on, it will pull that data. So that's something we're pretty excited about.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think the website does need to be more informative, 100% actually. So yeah, really good, cool. Just to go back to what you were saying about getting in before you even knew there was a treasury. I'm doing a video on SPV at the minute. I'm just putting it all together. So in order to kind of find out how Decred had implemented SPV, which is simple payment verification, I've gone all the way back to 2017 and the 2018 roadmap, and it's so interesting. It's so interesting to listen to Dave Collins and some of the other guys talking about, oh yeah, we're gonna put this treasury so we can send, we're going to build Politeia, we're going to have a treasury that people can vote on, we're going to do this. And it's like, wow, it's actually, when you listen to the really early, and that's Decred Ensemble for anyone that wants to listen, it's really interesting to hear the guys talking about what they're going to do, and then to fast forward to 2024 and pretty much everything to been built and is now fully functional is absolutely amazing. One thing I would love to see, and Exodus has been hard at work on this as well, I know, at least it's in conceptual mode, is I'd love to see another roadmap. I'd love to see some ideas going on for the next 4 or 5 years to show actually this is what we're looking forward at the next stage. I was on a website the other day called Decred Nation or Decred something or other, and it was basically a roadmap point by point, and it basically showed where the progress of everything was. Obviously, it's not maintained anymore, so it's irrelevant, but it's something that I'd like to see on the main website. I'd love to see a roadmap, just to say, look, these things have been done. So you've got the history, everything that's been done, and you can verify that. But this is what we're going to look at next. This is where we're aiming for. So you've got improvements to Bison Relay. You've got improvements going forward with DCR DEX and all of DCR DEX becoming the best wallet in the whole space, for the best multi-coin wallet in the whole space. Is something that I'm very excited about. We've got the mesh server for DCR DEX. We've got the mesh server for privacy. All of those things just to be listed out, to see what happens when we look back in 2030 and we say, look, they built that as well. They follow through.
Yeah, the SPV stuff is it's criminally underrated, especially when you look at some of these other projects. One reason we haven't been seeing ZEC or Digibyte traded is I don't know if they have light wallets. So you need the full node in order to do a trade, which is pretty unfortunate. And this is something Decred has had for so long. And I believe the DEX developers went in and did Litecoin's SPV, like they finished it for them. So,
That's mental. That's mental.
yeah. But it's and they improve it every single month. They're always Decred really shines when it comes to back end improvements. Some of these things are obscure that the end user might not understand, but they're always tinkering and optimizing, and DCRD and DCR wallet are always getting better. Of course, the end user, it's not super interesting, but it's so far ahead. It's amazing.
Well, I mean, I hadn't really realized. I was listening to or watching a conversation between Warrior and JYP in Matrix the other day, and I hadn't realized the major differences between our SPV and what Electrum considers SPV and the light clients. And to find out, the reason ours is built in is because it is so lightweight, and because all of the interaction is done client side. It's fascinating as hell, actually. And if you are interested in the SPV, I definitely recommend the Decred Ensemble back in 2017. It was great just to say, look, we're gonna do it this way, and yeah, SPV is amazing. We're almost coming to the end here. If anyone's got any questions, please feel free to post them. I know it's been a bit of a slow one, so I quite like the pace today. Actually, it's quite nice easing back into 2024. I'd also like to hear suggestions for people that you would like us to invite on to actually do some demos of DCR DEX and kind of onboard them as well. If there's anyone that's interested in that, higher profile the better. If I'm honest, if we can get somebody with a few thousand plus followers that can come on and do that, that'd be absolutely amazing. As a final note, just from my notes here, what is the definition for a true DEX? What should a DEX absolutely 100% do? From my point of view, and I'll just say one thing. From my point of view, a DEX must be peer-to-peer. It must have no trading fees. I know DCR DEX has the block trading fees. Not trading fees, but they have the blockchain fees. But from my perspective, it should have no fees, no trading fees. Anyone have any other perspective on that? You want to write it in the comments? That'd be absolutely great. What's the one thing, Exodus, that you feel a true DEX would have? Oh, you're muted, bud. No. Can't hear you. It looks like Exodus is off at the moment. I don't, Exodus, if you can hear me, I can't actually hear you at the moment. So hopefully you'll come back on a minute. If you start talking, I'll let you take over. No, it's gone. I'm not sure what's happened. Oh no, we've lost X's mic. But anyone in the chat, what is the one thing that you consider that a true DEX should have? My one thing is it should exclude all fees. It should exclude fees for liquidity providers. It should exclude fees for makers and takers. It should exclude an arbitrary coin in the middle of every single trade. I don't know if there's anything I can do my end, Exodus. Give me a thumbs up. Can you hear me? Okay, I'm not glitching, am I? Can you hear me? Yeah, you can hear me. Okay, so I think we're okay on my end. We'll give Exodus a couple more seconds. But anyone else? Oh no, we've lost him. I mean, one thing that I think most people would 100% say is probably no KYC. I think that's an absolute mission as well. But there are so many things that make a true DEX, and like me and Exodus were saying a little bit earlier, is I think the philosophy and the initial implementation of DCR DEX was true to its core. It wanted to build something that couldn't be manipulated, that could be used by the whole system, and in version 1, hopefully we'll see that come to life, and hopefully we'll see lots and lots of liquidity. That's the one thing that's really is holding DCR DEX back, is getting that liquidity. We've got the main pairs coming, so we've got the USDC pair, we've got the Bitcoin pair, we've got the Litecoin pairs. The next thing is just to start putting some coins on there and start doing some more frequent trading, which I think would be really, really interesting. Any luck, Exodus? Are you back yet? It's gone. So Jay said DEX should be easier to use than SEXes. Absolutely. And one thing Dave Collins said when he was last on, and I agree with, is you can set the DEX up now within 5 minutes. It really is that easy. One thing that happened to me today on Coinbase, just to go on ease of use, is now if you're a UK user using oh, you're back on, Exodus.
Okay, I switched my mic, but yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I just finished off my statement there.
Go ahead.
One of the things that they popped up with now is you've got to fill in a questionnaire to basically validate that you're not a dimwit, basically. So you have to prove your knowledge of crypto, so you know that you're going to lose all your money. And literally took me about 5 minutes to go through this questionnaire. There's only two sections, and the first was, what kind of trader are you? Are you plus 100,000, or are you less than 10% of your wealth in crypto? Once you answer that, then you go into, do you understand this about the regulations? Do you understand about this about the regulations? It was it was really painful, actually. And one of the things that if you get any of these questions wrong, of which I think there was 5, you're not going to be able to trade for the next 24 hours. I was like, what? That's absolutely crazy. Sorry, Exodus. What's your one thing that every DEX should have?
Should have, besides KYC, I guess liquidity would be good. That's probably the most important thing, is you have to have people to trade with. So yeah.
Non-custodial wallets as well, I reckon.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you didn't hear me earlier. So I said no KYC, and that was the first thing I said. No KYC, absolutely, and of course, custody of your own funds for sure.
Absolutely. Anything in the chat that we need to discuss? Other than that, I think we're pretty much there.
Yeah, I think we have everything. It was really, really good chat. Definitely appreciate the positivity from people. I can't wait for the DEX version 1 release, and running market maker bots, arbitrage bots. They already have a bunch of different strategies built in. They have 5 different strategies. One combines the arbitrage with the market maker bot. So that's something I think we can all look forward to, and hopefully that comes within the next few months. So just in time for the 2024 bull run.
Yeah, I think 2024 is definitely going to be interesting. And with this move from centralized exchanges, with this move from governments, authorities, regulators, I honestly don't see a way forward for any project that isn't safeguarding itself with some kind of DEX implementation. I don't see any safeguarding for those. If you're not if you're not actively working on some kind of DEX implementation, whether it be your own or through DCR DEX or through one of these other providers, I really think you might be scuppered going forward. And I think that's what 2024 will tell the whole industry is, yes, it's okay to use DEX, but really, sorry, it's okay to use a centralized exchange, but really and truly, you need to have a backup solution. You need volume. If there's no volume on your DEX, you are going to go by the wayside as well. And if we've learned anything over the last 2 years of DCR DEX being active and being able to use, it is that liquidity. That is that getting people to actually use it, making it easy enough for people to use, making it functional enough for people to use. Final thoughts, Exitus, and I think we'll call it a day.
Thanks everyone for tuning in and leaving your comments. And yeah, if you have any DEXs that you see are being developed and you think Decred should be a part of them, reach out to us. And I think at some point there's going to be a proposal to just have DEX developers work on these other exchanges, including even ThorSwap, and there's another one called Mayan Swapper. I forget what it's called.
Yeah,
but we have the tools to do this. So always don't be afraid to reach out. And yeah, this should be a really good year for Decred. Thank you guys for watching.
Yeah, thanks everyone. I completely agree with Exitus there. It's been an excellent show. If you have any suggestions for people that we should invite on to do some demoing with them and onboarding for DCR DEX once we get to version 1, which hopefully will be in the next couple of months, let us know. That'd be great. And if you want to get involved in Decred, obviously join the Matrix channels over at decred.org or chat.decred.org, and it'd be fantastic to talk to you guys. Loads of opportunities there. We're always looking for productive people. Until next month then, guys, take care.